Okay, hi. It is quite troublesome when stream decides to experience an issue. I am so sorry. It seems that we had some issues with the internet and it cut out. Especially like on the YouTube one. I am so sorry. Don't worry about it. Thank you, Taro. But I am a little worried about it because this like it happened last week too. So I'm a little concerned. I don't know why that happened, but thank you. I appreciate that. What was I talking about before this cut out? I actually do not know where in my little talk the stream cut out. I was somewhere in talking about how we don't always know how things are going to turn out, maybe. And sometimes things turn out better than we imagined they could. Like, I like how that pattern worked out a lot more than I thought I would. I'm so pleasantly so pleased with how that turned out. Because I have been in the midst, it's a long running project of making a patchwork piece of fabric out of a lot of my like sewable sized scraps from my different strawberry projects. And so far, it's looking kind of rough. No, I'm not gonna lie. It's been a little. It looks a little rough, but I know I'm not even close to being done with it. So, my goal / hope for it was to turn it into a for there to be enough scrap pieces there that I can make a bag. Out of it. Not that I need more bags. Like a tote bag. Something like that. Or some pin cushions. I like making pin cushions out of my scrap material. I've got this one. I've got a wrist pin cushion that I made a few years ago that is actually over with my sewing project that's in the living room. The hand sewing on that skirt that we were working on last week. Hey, I've been working on that. So that pin cushion is in the living room with that project. Yeah, I like making pin cushions. Pin cushions are, especially for, I think, for someone that's crafty or like likes to sew. I think pin cushions make a good gift idea. I guess now I kind of want to go through, like, I had asked on TikTok, and Instagram. No, I just posted that on TikTok. I only posted that on TikTok. I didn't post that on Instagram. I don't think I posted it on Instagram. Anyway, I posted it on TikTok, and I know for sure that I posted on TikTok because that's where I've been getting comments from, um, asking the question on if it's harder to make gifts for someone that you don't know very well, or if it's harder to do that or buy something for someone that you don't know very well. And there has been no consensus other than the fact that people like handmade gifts. Like, that's been the consensus in my comment section over on TikTok, is that in my DMs, is that people like handmade gifts. People also like making handmade gifts. And I, as a person who loves making things for people, as far as gifts go, I love doing it. I don't so much like making clothing for other people. Making clothing for myself is great. I do enjoy, like, when I see someone wearing something that I made, like, that makes me really, really happy. But the process just stresses me out because, like, I know the level of, like, flaws and stuff, like, or shortcuts that, like, I'm willing to take with my own clothing and, like, what my preferences are. But when I don't have the other person here with me, it can be kind of stressful. Be like, oh, are they gonna like it? Is this gonna fit? I don't know. I'm second guessing everything. Which I am working on getting better at. The more clothing for other people that I make, I know I will, that sense of imposter syndrome will disappear. But when it comes to, like, non-clothing things, I love making stuff. For one of my friend's children when they were a baby, I made them a pillow pet, a bunny pillow pet. Big pillow. I knew they probably wouldn't be using it until they were a toddler. But I thought at the very least it's a cute thing that can decorate their nursery, because their nursery was very woodland themed. And that was my first time making anything like stuffed animal related. Well, making something good, like decent, that was a stuffed animal related thing. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. I have my mock-up actually sitting here on the chair. You're not gonna be able to see it because it's too far away, but there's a chair right here with fabric and stuff on it where I have the tester that I made to make sure that, like, the pattern would actually work out. I use it as a cushion for that chair, because the chair is just not comfortable enough for me. I like sitting on the pillow when I am able to sit in the chair. What else? Okay, so, like, little stuffed animals. So things that can be made as gifts, like little stuffed animals. Obviously I've been making bowl cozies for the last little bit. We have a couple of streams where I've gone through, like, how to make a bowl cozy and what a bowl cozy is. Right now I'm making a wrist rest for keyboard. If the person's crafty, like, they like to sew, pin cushions are fun, and that's a really great way to, like, use up scrap materials. If they like stationery or pens, like something for them to, like, organize their stationery, or their pens, makeup bags are good for people that like do makeup, or even those, like, if someone likes to paint, though, like, making a thing that people can put their paintbrushes in and, like, roll them up. That's really easy, because basically all you need is, like, a couple pieces of material, some elastic, and then you're good to go. Stop that. Cooperate with me, bias tape, please, and thank you. That's a really good idea. The same thing can be made for someone that, like, crochets or knits. You just need to change the size for the artist implement, and the same thing could be made for pens. I actually made one for my dad a couple years ago. I made him a a pen holder for his because he's a teacher, so his for his bag that he takes to school with him for his like pens. And I'm just making sure that the stream is actually okay. It's fine. It just glitched for some reason, and I wanted to just make sure that we were good before continuing. And then I used my sewing machine actually for this part, because my sewing machine has the ability to do some minor anagram, no, monogramming. That's the word I'm looking for, not anagram. Ooh, those are very different things. Monogramming, so it can do some minor embroidery. So I embroidered his initials on it with the sewing machine, that was something I did for my dad a few years ago. And like on the realm of wool cozies is like hot pad holders or like oven mitts. Hot pad holders are like, as long as you're able to like find the right batting, like the insole braid or insole fleece, those work really well. Scrunchies, that was another thing that someone had DM'd me about. And depending on what material you make it out of, it could be very you could do scrunchy, or you could do, I know it's been like fairly like trendy to have like those like face wash bands, so it's like out of like terry cloth, so that like when you're washing your face, the water doesn't continue to like go down your arm. You have like something on your wrists that like catches the water while you're washing your face, which I think is honestly great idea. Awesome idea, especially if you don't like the feeling of like wet sleeves. Like that's a sensory issue. Another thing that's a good gift idea is like a towel. So I know this was like a popular gift thing like a while ago, like a long time ago. I know, like, because because my parents have so many from other people, where you have like a the towel. I guess it's just always popular, but not popular, but good gift. It's like a towel that has a loop attached to it, so it can be hung on a handle, like an oven door handle. Often they're like decorative, and that can be done either with like crochet, or you could sew it too. You could do a sewing version of that. But that's like a quicker like crochet project where you're able to get something for someone handmade, because you're just doing like attaching it to like a towel. You can make it as fancy or as basic as you want. Ooh, my stitches are not even. It's not fine. Yeah, but I think the idea of a handmade Christmas is or homemade, like, not handmade, because everything, especially when it comes to like clothing, everything is made by hand. There's very little in this world that is like fully made by a machine. There's human construction elements to pretty much everything we buy and consume. So a crafty Christmas, I guess that's how I'll versus like a massively overconsumption Christmas. But I know that that's not necessarily going to work for everyone. But it definitely is something that I'm able to do. I mean, look at this. Look at all this fabric. But it is something that I think like more people should do, because it's fun, right? You have like the ability to make something with your own hands and give it to somebody, and then, I mean, you really can't decide what the other person is going to do with it afterwards, but you had a good, like, if you're into making things, right? If this is something that does bring you a joy or a little bit of comfort, I think in some ways also it ends up expanding the idea of like the cheer of the holidays, where so often like the holiday season is something that is like super, super stressful and over commercialized. And as we have grown up and become adults, it's something that, and if we're adults that do not have children of our own, some of that Christmas magic sometimes feels like it's been lost. And I know I've seen people like making compilation videos on how like they are like missing, you know, the Christmas spirit of when they were a child, and they're like, they're just like, how can I get that back? And I saw a creator, we used to be mutuals, but she's no longer following me, which is fine. We have no beef. I'm still following her. I don't know why she followed me in the first place. I'm not gonna lie. I think it was because I had one. I'm gonna be honest. I think the reason she followed me is I had one video a few years ago go a little bit viral within the American Girl doll community on TikTok, and it was about this sweater that I had gotten I think a year or two prior at H&M that reminded me of, or that year, I don't actually remember the exact timeline, but anyway, it was a sweater that I had gotten. I still have it. I pull it out every autumn and winter, and it is very reminiscent of the cover of one of Samantha Parkington's The American Girl doll book, and that one it went a little viral within that specific community. It didn't go like massive viral, but within that specific community it went kind of viral. So I think I want to say that video was the reason that she followed me, because she is more like a Disney American Girl doll account. But most of my content is not about American Girl doll, so I understand why we're not following each other anymore, because like it's fine. Water under the bridge, no worries. But she actually, because I still follow her, because I do like her content, because it's like, so she actually had posted a couple videos about this, so it kind of put the idea into my head of like, this is something that like I'm stewing on, right? The idea of how to make the holidays something that's enjoyable as an adult. And part of that is making moments of cheer, moments of joy, and making that like holiday spirit. So part of that for me is like decorating, like decorating a tree. Like I love decorating the tree, like looking at the snow and everything. But then another part of that for me in like making that like Christmas cheer for myself is making Christmas presents for other people, is trying to recapture some of those little bits of nostalgia, baking cookies, making like doing that as an adult for myself, choosing to do that, because at that point it is a choice. I have the choice as an adult whether I want to engage with the aspects of the holiday season that really do mean something to me. I have the choice to engage with those things. And like right now, especially, again, I'm trying, like with these streams, I'm trying to not I'm trying to stay away from doom scrolling, but also kind of have a conversation. So I'm not going to get too deep into, everything that's going on right now. But especially in a time when we are facing so much pain that is being caused by people that are in power, not just here in where I am here in America, but like around the world. One of the ways that we are able to fight that, right, is by not losing hope. And one of the ways that we're able to not lose hope is to find joy. And thus joy becomes an act of resistance, because joy is the thing that is going to keep us from losing hope. I think about like historically the concepts of like why do we have Christmas in the winter, right? Like Christmas as a holiday, why is it in the winter when we all know that Jesus was not born in December? Like he was not born in December. Like that's that like we all know that, like based off of just historical records and like the way that the way that we can look back at the history of like the placements of the stars in the sky, in the night sky, like we know that like the December was not like, that's not when he was born. But what holidays was Christmas taken from? It was taken from like it was, the combining of holiday seasons. It was midwinter festivals or winter festivals. The idea of finding warmth and finding joy in a time of year, especially in like Europe, right? Because that's where like this specific like holiday thing like comes from. In a time of year where everything is dark and everything is cold and harsh, and the like those festivals, right, are meant to bring the community together, celebrate like with warmth, with food, and to celebrate the fact that they've made it that far in the winter, and to give them encouragement and keep them going for the rest of winter. Because like, yeah, like lighting candles, putting lights on trees, like that is something that brings joy when it gets dark really early, right? It gets dark so early. So yeah, I in my thought processes and my my opinions on like, should we be celebrating Christmas this year or not. I think we should, right? But how we celebrate it should be very mindful. We should be very mindful about how we're celebrating something, you know, like have an understanding of what our intention for the holiday is. Is it to be like super materialistic and like feed into capitalism, or is it to just like continue to show solstice? Yes, that's the word I was looking for. My brain is just, I also don't know how delayed the stream is. Okay, sorry, I now saw how delayed the stream was. Solstice, yes, that is exactly what I was thinking of. But yeah, like you have like that is something that we're, you know, like how do we want to celebrate the holiday season for capitalistic reasons, or do we want to celebrate the season for the joy that being with friends and family, sharing good meals together brings us, with the joy that we see on someone else's face when we do give them a gift, like and it not having pressure on the gift being something massive or grand. Yeah, joy, hope over the feeling of burden, and like that's a choice. It's a choice to feel those things. To carve those out into our lives. Like I thought of last week, this is another thing that like kind of it's relevant. I will tie it in. Don't you worry. The Starbucks bear mug. Mind you, I don't care. I don't care about that bear mug. I think the idea of a bear, like a honey bear mug, is actually like so cute. But like my favorite, the only character within the Disney canon that is going to anyway turn me into a Disney adult is Winnie the Pooh. I am a Disney adult for Winnie the Pooh. So honey bear mug, like that's cute. If there was anything marketing that would like try and get, but the hat doesn't do it for me. I don't like the Starbucks logo on it, so it's not for me. People were lining up for isn't that much? Good. Okay, thank you. Good. Anyway, so where was I? Oh yeah, so the Starbucks mug, not for me, but people were lining up for this Starbucks barista bear mug cup. It's a glass cup, so it's on a, anyway, and it sold out within like the first 2 people in line because the stores did not receive inventory for this mug. Like they didn't. They like, I think some stores didn't get it at all. Some stores got 2, and then a random Target got 8 or something like that. That's what I heard. I have not fact checked any of this, so could very well be incorrect and misinformation. So bear that in mind. That was stupid. Anyway, that bear led to, I saw one person had remembered that she had seen a bear honey jar a glass bear honey jar at like her like local thrift store, and she went to the thrift store at open in hopes that they still had it, because it's been a couple days and she hadn't picked it up. Like, she hadn't picked it up a couple days ago and she was hoping no one else had, so she went there at open and found that bear. Other people are making coffees out of their own, like the honey bear little plastic jars that they get from the store. Some people were doing the honey bear animal cracker jars. People are being very, very, very creative, and that was entertaining to see, but it was also kind of like interesting to see from like a marketing perspective, because this is exactly what Starbucks wanted, right? They like, there was intentional choices. One could say that part of it had to do with tariffs and like in the amount that they were able to bring over to the United States, right? Like, one could say that. One can argue that that's why the inventory was so low. But let's be honest. Let's be realistic that with their holiday collection, something that they've planned for a very long time, and in the face of the fact that they have for the last like year or so, they had been experiencing boycotts for a number of various reasons, most of which having to do with the way that they treat their employees, and specifically their employees that are trying to unionize. That being one, the other being Palestine and its relation to the employees and the union busting thing. Like, all of that interconnected, completely interconnected. Combining that with the Target boycott as well, with the number of Starbucks that are inside Targets, right? You've got that whole combination. Their collaborations and their collections specifically for like the holiday season, and their desire for that to get as much attention and as much people like traction, right, for them is why it was specifically done the way that it was. Because they know how popular their bear series of mugs is. Like, they do that's a series of bears. Like, they have had bear mugs for different seasons. They know the rate at which they sell those mugs. They know. So it was definitely like their desire to get people talking about the bear mug, posting their alternatives. It's getting attention for them. And from the marketing perspective, this is positive attention for them. In their minds. Will it actually play out benefiting them? With some people, I'm sure it will. Okay. All right. In the time that we've been chilling over here, and I have actually no idea how long it's been. I've made it this far. Hand sewing. And my stitches are so uneven. They're not the worst I've ever done, but they're not great. They're fine. They're fine. They look good from the front, which is really all that matters, right? Honestly, I'm really happy with how this is turning out. Other than my stitches being slightly uneven, I am so happy with how this turned out. So, for those that have joined that are not necessarily sure what I am wearing, thank you for joining, or not wearing, making. My words get tongue-tied sometimes. I am making a wrist rest for, like a computer. What I used inside to make it is I used 2 layers of cardboard. I used a old bolt from some fabric that I had emptied, and I cut 2 layers of fabric to give it some stability here, and then I used some polyfill for the actual cushion part. And the material that I'm using is Anna Green Gables print that I picked up when my partner and I were in Japan for a friend who is a English professor that loves Anna Green Gables. Which, same. Not to the English professor job, but loving Anna Green Gables. And happened to find this absolutely gorgeous print. It's got different illustrations from Anna Green Gables, like illustrations of different scenes, and then it has little excerpts from the book, which is so cute. So I am making the reason why the back is so long is because I wanted her to be able to have as much of the pictures on the fabric visible as possible. So her keyboard can sit on top of this. I've got little grippy fabric kind of dispersed around the back so that it won't like slide as much on the desk. And yeah, I wanted her to have as much of the fabric visible as possible, so her keyboard can sit on this. She can have some more fabric peeking out behind, like from underneath and behind it, so that she can enjoy the material. And I just think it's so cute. I think it's darling. I am obsessed. I'm obsessed. This is so cute. So yeah, that is what I'm currently working on hand sewing. I had some bias tape that I'm using to bind it, to finish off the edges. Yeah. We're just here chilling, conversing on whatever happens to be going through my mind. But if y'all have anything you want to talk about, you are more than welcome to let me know in the comments, and we can have a conversation. Okay. Gotta switch out my thread because this was getting a little too short. Oh, let me think of something. You're good, Teru. If you can't think of anything, no pressure. I just see we have like 3 other people viewing, so if you guys want to engage, you can, but you are also more than welcome to just be lurking here. I wanted to invite you to talk, but you don't have to. That is not something that you have to do. Ever. You don't have to. Just have me on in the background. That is absolutely okay. I'm just glad you're here. I can still see snow on the neighbor across the street's roof, so I think this snow is gonna stick around for a good chunk of the day. That's exciting. Like, here's the thing about winter. I love winter. Winter is my favorite season. But only when I've lived in regions that have snow. When I have lived in places that don't have snow or don't have like regular snow and winter is mostly just rainy, I've not had a good time. I've not loved it. My love of snow outweighs my love of sunshine sometimes. No. Cause like, hey Jillian, do you believe in ghosts? I actually don't. I don't believe in ghosts, and that has to do partially with the religion that I grew up with and their belief on the state of the dead. I do believe in phenomenons that can be attributed to ghosts, and I do believe in like supernatural beings. But my belief on the state of the dead basically makes it so that yeah, you know, I think our definitions of like supernatural, like our experiences, like I believe people experience things, right? Like I don't believe that people are making up the experiences they have, but I don't necessarily believe that it is a soul trapped here. That is not something, because of my specific religious upbringing. Yeah, I do not believe spirits stick around. I absolutely respect that there are other like cultural and religious practices that do believe that spirits do stick around. Absolutely, I respect that. But what supernatural beings? Angels and demons. I believe in angels and demons. But I do not believe in hell the same way like the Catholic Church or most Christian churches talk about hell. The way that the faith that I was brought up with talks about hell. It does not talk about hell as something that is perpetual and ongoing and currently happening. Hell is something that will happen. Like hellfire is something that happens in the future, not something that currently is happening. And then I believe in angels. Like, so like the idea that like that, you know, angels and like demons are all around us, and they and depending on how they interact with us, you know, like that can like in some ways that is like how one would like one like I would like kind of explain some of the phenomenon, you know. But yeah, um yeah, I think but again, like I'm not going to tell someone that that what they experienced and what they felt is wrong, because like there's so much that I don't know. That makes sense. I believe in angels too. Yeah. You even had a guardian angel experience? Oh. I can count of a number of experiences where whether it be an actual angel or someone someone just being impressed to do good and then acting like an angel, definitely had an experience like that. When I was a kid, it was actually we were driving. We were living out east, so eastern seaboard, snowy winter. I live out east, and we were driving to my uncle's for Christmas or Thanksgiving. It was either Christmas or Thanksgiving. He lived like a state over, so we were driving, and we were driving this old van. Basically we were driving through a blizzard, and it was late at night. It was really dark, or it wasn't really late at night. It was just after dark, because you know winter sunsets early, earlier than the summer, and our car spun out, and we landed in the ditch, and my brother and I were very tiny at the time. I was probably in like first or second grade when this happened. So and my brother is 2 years younger than me. We were tiny. My dad had gotten out to try and push the car out of the ditch, and it was not, we weren't getting out of the ditch. It was cold. The highway was like, I remember looking out the windows and seeing like the lights of the cars that felt like they were just so far away and they were never getting closer to us. It felt like we were just alone there for a while. And then someone pulled over and got out of their car and helped my dad push our van out of the ditch. And like they saw us in that blizzard. Like you could kind of see, like it was and we were able to get to my aunt and uncle safely. And that person, whether they were, you know, they were an actual angel, right? Like they were acting like one. They in amongst the blizzard, they saw someone on the side of the road, and instead of, you know, continuing on their way, they stopped and helped. And that was yeah, that is what I could say as far as like my guardian angel kind of experience, because I you know, I think we have the ability to to be an angel in someone's life or to be a demon in someone's life, right? We can either do good or we can do harm. And some, like, we just need to be able to choose to do good. Yeah. Thank you. But yeah, that is that story. Let's see. What else to talk about? I'm not actually sure how long I'm gonna stream today. Cause I know I started stream late. I know we were almost to 2 hours when the first stream cut out, and now we're close to a full hour on this one. But I'm being productive, so, and I'm not scrolling on my phone. Although I am hoping that I get a call either today or tomorrow. Hopefully it's the beginning of the week. From the job I applied to that I had the interview for last week. I'm just anxious, you know? I would like to have a stable income. Which is partially why I'm glad, like, I'm okay with just hanging out here, staying here as long as I'm working on this. Because then I'm not tempted to doom scroll with my anxiousness. But, yeah. What animals have you encountered in the wild? Anything crazy? I saw boars and deer once. I've never seen a wild boar, which I guess is a good thing because I have heard that wild boars are incredibly territorial and quite dangerous. Deer, definitely have seen deer. Obviously we've got a lot of the squirrels. I've seen black squirrels, white squirrels, standard North American gray squirrel. Ooh, red squirrel. Those are cute. Those are really cute. Lots of squirrels. Chipmunks. Raccoons. We've got, standard North American trash panda. Love a raccoon. Raccoons are menaces to society, and to be fair, society is not meant to be encroaching on their land. So we only have ourselves to blame because raccoons are so smart. Raccoons are so intelligent. They are also wild creatures, so they're not. They're honestly, I think that they're too intelligent to domesticate. At least in the short term. Like, it would take a very long time to domesticate them. That's my theory. I have seen a bear from afar. That was when my family went on a backpacking trip in the Boundary Waters in Minnesota. Moose. Did we ever see a moose? We would go to the Boundary Waters with my grandpa a couple times. At least once, twice. Well, we went there a few times, but at least once with my grandpa because my grandfather all loves moose. Like his before my grandma died, the basement in their house was full of like moose stuffed animals, a moose tapestry, moose. Like the idea that every person kind of has this animal that they latch onto, and you know, that's the animal they obsess over. For my grandpa, it was a moose. Lots of different woodpeckers. What else? You've never seen a moose. Well, consider yourself lucky. They're absolutely terrifying creatures. Especially like actually just look up a moose. Like look up videos of moose swimming. One, moose are huge. You get obsessed about bears because you think you look like one. Oh no. I have yeah. So moose are massive. One, they're massive, and they are like huge. They're huge, and they are like they can swim across big lakes. You know, they're huge. People think all dinosaurs are extinct, and I'm like, yeah, sure, probably. But, like, have you considered the moose? Have you considered? Have you considered the moose? Because, yeah, they're huge. Oof. What else? What else have I regularly seen? In the wild, because we're talking about in the wild, not in captivity. In the wild. When I was a kid, my grandparents lived near a quarry, and we would sometimes go on walks in said quarry when it was not in operations. So definitely trespassing. And sometimes we would find snakes. We would find snakes, and we would I remember one time my dad picked up one, and it was like a garter snake, like not poisonous to humans at least. And in order for the snake to be like, its defense mechanism was to pee on my dad. So that my dad would let it go and it could get away. And if that's anything that's like so relatable, right? Like, huge human picks up tiny snake. Snake scared, peas. You know what? Valid defense mechanism. Relatable, actually. If the same area that, like, if you got up early enough, you could hear, if not see, the loons. That's actually the Minnesota state bird is the loon, and their calls are quite haunting. I do love a loon. Do love a loon. What else? Obviously deer. I say obviously. I lived in Minnesota near a stand of trees. Deer. Beavers. Seen beavers in real life? In the wild. Oh, that heart thing is in the way. I cannot see if I change the... I have seen a blind word, aka deaf adder, as a kid. Ooh! That's cool. Oh, I mean, technically, this was in the wild, but it was on a tour. And in the state of Florida, there are rules. There are rules and laws on how you can interact with these creatures. So we were on a tour. It was a school music tour, and we were the specific excursion that we got to do was swimming with manatees. So these manatees were not captive manatees, right? This was a lagoon that the manatees just happened to be in the wild, right? They're not in captivity, and part of the thing with like swimming with manatees is that you are not allowed to touch the manatees. Human interaction, you can swim with the manatees, which even then I think is a little bit too much human interaction. They're getting a little too friendly with the humans because manatees are just so sweet. Get moody sometimes. I mean, anything gets moody. Manatee is just like a big sea cow. You know, they're so sweet. I love them so much. I love that experience. I mean, any animal can get moody, but it's like the kind of moody that like a cow, like, you know, if you've interacted with a cow and seen like the different moods that a cow can have and how they because our experience with the manatees was you just swim. A manatee may come up to you and brush up against you. They may not. And you just have to be okay with it. You cannot go bother the manatees. Just be in their presence. And that was a fun experience. But it also broke my heart because there's barely ever a single manatee that does not have scar marks on it from propellers. Because boats are the worst. And manatees, for the most part, are incredibly, incredibly sweet. Chill creatures. Unlike hippos, which are terrifying. They're another one of my, like, dinosaurs are extinct, and I'm like, but have you considered the jaw strength of the hippo? I mean, dinosaurs are extinct, don't get me wrong, but, like, I feel as though we're not giving enough respect to these creatures. We are not. But anyway, yeah. Manatees. I think manatees was the most close interaction with a interesting. I say interesting because squirrels are interesting, but Yeah. With one that I don't see every single day. Eep. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I mean, it life is so interesting. On this planet, so very interesting. It's so interesting how different creatures have developed in different regions of the world. Like it's so interesting to see. Like and the fact that like a lot of what, like with specific creatures, what goes into like their, like the size that they end up growing to is fully dependent on like the size of their territory, or like the size of like their like the body of water that they're in, right? Like the idea that given the right conditions, the little tiny goldfish that most kids like have in their little like fish tanks, like as like one of their first pets, if they, you know, aren't allowed to have dogs, like those little goldfish, depending on which, can grow to be huge, massive comparatively, right? If given the right conditions in the right kind of body of water. It's wild. I mean, sloths are still around, but like we need to preserve them. We do. The Natural History, or is it the Natural History Museum? The Field Museum. Yeah, the Field Museum of Natural History here in Chicago has a lot of especially like bird specimens, and there's other specimens, like taxidermied specimens of creatures that are now extinct, and varieties of birds that like are now like gone. And it always saddened me looking at the like the plaques that say, yes, this creature is now extinct. And I'm like, that's really sad. And it is really sad that the only way we're able to see them now is in their taxidermied state. Like they're not. The Field Museum, I believe they have 3 pandas. They have 2 adult giant pandas, or not adult. They have 2 two giant pandas that are more adult than the third one, and the third one is in its own separate display case, and that is because it is the first panda that was brought over to the Americas, and it has its own story. They also have like a preserved like elephant. They've got a lot, and these displays, like a lot of these displays in the Field Museum, are going on 100 years old, 200 years old. Like these are really old, like really old taxidermied like creatures, and many of them had been things that were hunted, but like some of them were creatures that had been like kept in captivity, and then when they passed away, but a lot of them were stuff that was donated from people going on hunting expeditions. But specifically with that first panda that was brought to the United States, it was brought back to the United States alive. But it died of pneumonia when it was 2. He died of pneumonia when he was 2. And then so he's still very much a juvenile. Very, very much a baby. 2 or 3. Anyway, he did not reach the age of 4 for sure. If my memory serves me right. So it is interesting to see like those kinds of like exhibits and what that tells us about like the impact that we have, and in a lot of cases, like I think that they are like they should, especially like now, they should stand as like a warning for us on what we will lose, what we will continue to lose if we do not act as good stewards to the land around us. Ow. Poked myself in the leg. That was so smart. I think my feelings on like natural history museums and the use of, well, the sheer amount, let's be real, the sheer amount of natural history museums in the world, coupled with the sheer amount of taxidermied creatures that are within each of those natural history museums, because I've been to the Natural History Museum in Washington D.C. back in high school, the Smithsonian, and that has got lots of it's got a sizable collection of these animals. I like the sheer amount of them. Like, it makes me sad, but I also recognize that a lot of these animals they are, again, nearing on 100 to hundreds, couple 100 years old, some of them. At least right now, some of them are being used for like the education of hopefully future generations to like care about like our environment and the things that share the environment with us. Um, but then I also have slight mixed feelings when it comes to zoos, because like, depending on the zoo, because I think that there are zoos that are good. There are zoos that are doing incredibly good work. And then there are zoos that are kind of cruel. But like, I am not someone on an accreditation board. And I am also not someone that is an expert on every animal and the conditions in which they ideally would live. So, like, I know I'm not qualified to pass any kind of judgment on like which zoos are like I can for some zoos you can, it's easy to see like, ooh, that zoo is like actually awful. And then others it's like I have no idea. Like I try, like if I like when I do go to zoos, I try to support zoos that are trying to give the best life possible to the animals that are within their care. Because at the end of the day, I also recognize that for a lot of the animals that are in zoos, they are incapable of going back into the wild. For a number of different reasons. Some of them, they've never lived in the wild. Like they were born in captivity and they have not known anything other, and it would be cruel to release them into the wild in a way like when they have grown up in a situation where they have been around humans in a way that has altered their ability to discern that humans are actually something to be feared. And zoos are like, and depending on the zoo, they are incredibly important when it comes to like the breeding programs for a lot of these creatures that are near extinction. So they are important for our hopes to revive specific species from the brink of extinction. So they serve an incredibly important purpose there. But then there's also like the fact that I feel the same way about some aquariums, because like a tank can never replace the ocean. It can't. But the bigger tank, the better, like make sure like they have plenty of room to move. Yeah, zoos are a really complicated issue. They are. Because like they do like in when it comes to like when it comes to educating the public, like when it comes to educating the public about like animals, and the way in which like we interact with them, how we interact with the world impacts them, and work towards like preserving like they do serve an important function, but not at all zoos are created equal, or with the same kind of like mindset. Like I remember when I was a kid, when we lived in Minnesota, there is a zoo. It's called the Como Park Zoo. It is a zoo, as the name says, in Como Park in Minnesota. And it is a free to enter zoo. At least at the time of me being a child, it was free to enter. Kind of similar to how believe it's the Lincoln Park Zoo here in Chicago. It's technically free to enter, but you do have to pay for parking. And I believe like, and then like basically the zoo like relies on like donations and the sale of merch to fund taking care of the animals. These zoos, which their main goal, right? The main goal is to like create a space where people are able to learn about animals and do so in a way that is accessible. They often don't have enough space for the animals that are within their care. But you can often tell that they are trying really, really hard. And they, because of their limited funding and their limited space, they are specific on like what kind of animals they can have. I remember my first interaction with a sloth was at the Como Zoo, and they have a greenhouse area in the Como Zoo where they have like the butterflies and the like some of the, like their parrots and their birds, you know, that's like the birdhouse greenhouse area. And you walk in, and in like this like the first little entryway there is someone that's working there, like that's there, and it's like, yeah, like if you look up into that tree, you can see the sloth. We have 2 sloths. They're hanging out in the trees. You can stop here, you can look, like pointed them out. But please don't touch the sloth, you know? Like and the fact that they gave the sloth space to roam in an environment that was like good sized, and for what they were able to give it, right, within the confines of this small zoo. They gave it space to roam that is as similar as possible to its home habitat. I think speaks a lot to the intentions and the intentionality like that park goers can like feel about the rest of the zoo. Right? The intention there is to give these animals as good of a life as they are possibly able to, recognizing that they will never be able to give them the same life that they would be able to have out in the wild. Yeah. And I've been to the Arizona Zoo, which the Arizona Zoo is very interesting because like for their non they have a big I say big, it's a pretty open area for roaming for the herbivores. So you have giraffes and gazelles and zebras and like other African wildlife that would normally have roamed the grasslands, you know, together, right? The you have them all in this like big open area, in a way that I'm like, man, that actually, like, for a zoo, I think this is the best enclosure I have ever seen for these creatures, because they're given so much open space. It's not anywhere near what they would have had in the wild, because it's not the wild, but for an enclosed zoo, or like a zoo, you know, a zoo with gates and things, like, they had a lot more space to roam, which I think is a good thing. Zoos are complicated. I've got conflicting feelings about them. think my stitches are getting better. Which is not surprising because, you know, the more you do something, the better you get. Well, I think for the sake of the fact that it is 1:30 and I have not eaten anything at all today other than the milk you saw me drink and the cracker my brother brought me, the bagel chip. I am going to go heat up some of my leftover heart of palm pasta that I had last night, and I am going to eat my first meal of the day. So thank you so much for joining me, just because my hands are starting to get really shaky. Thank you so much for joining me in my craft space. Thank you for being here. I hope that you have a great rest of your week. Hopefully you don't see me on Wednesday. Hopefully I will have gotten a call back Wednesday morning. Hopefully I will have gotten a call back and I will have a job by then. And if that is the case, I will surprise you by the next time I pop up. But if I haven't heard anything by Wednesday, you'll see me here Wednesday morning. And then also next week. But the hope is that I will have gotten a call and I will at least know something, and yeah, hopefully I will get a job. And then we will work out a new streaming schedule after that. So, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I'll see y'all later. Bye.